Call Ed Moltano. I get a call from my buddy Jerry. He says, "Hey Ed, I got a job for you. Vampire nightclub." I said, "Let me guess. They want blood sprinklers." He said, "Yeah, but that ain't the thing. The catch is, this job takes place in 1932. I said, "God damn it, Jerry, is this another time-traveling vampire plumbing job?" Being a vampire comes with certain advantages. For example, as an immortal creature of the night, vampires can live long enough to see time travel invented, provided they don't run into Blade or any other vampire hunters along the way. And that's what a lot of vampires do. You wait around about 200 years until time travel's invented, then you gotta wait another 50 years after that for them to figure out the baby Hitler paradox. Oh boy, what a mess that is. But whatever, you just stick around and then you go back in time to, happier times or whatever. But I turned it into a bit of a cottage industry, catering to vampires throughout history who have issues with their plumbing. I try not to do much before 1880 when Thomas Crapper, kind of fixed things up with the toilets. Anything before that, my jingle is worthless. Everything smells like shit back then. Anyways, I get to 1932 Mississippi, and I get to the nightclub, and I meet the vampire in charge, this guy Remick, a real Jack O'Connell type, if you know what I mean, which I don't. And I'm like, all right, let's get to work. And he's like, well, we don't actually own the place yet. And I'm like, oh, god damn it, it's still in escrow. I came back too early. Look, I can only do work for the property owner, and if that ain't you, then there's nothing I can do here. And he's like, don't worry, we're taking possession of it later tonight. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Can we at least take a look inside, start specking things out, get parts ordered? He's like, well, I'm like, let me guess. You haven't been invited in yet. No, I reckon we haven't. But we was thinking that maybe you could just go up there and say you're here to fix a broken toilet, and that way they'll invite you in, and then you can invite us in. And I said, sorry, pal. I ain't doing the whole, oh, nobody called me, but I'm here to fix a broken toilet routine. I already did that for my first job with the Corleone family, which, from your perspective, hasn't happened yet. But I ain't doing that again in the future like I did for the first time years from now in the past, okay? I'm like, where are you guys even from? And he's like, oh, we're from right up the road, South Carolina. And I'm like, And how long you been doing this whole vampire thing, you say? Since 1850s, 1860s, thereabout. I said, somebody might be looking for you. My name is Desmond Hawker. I am a vampire hunter. But very specifically, I hunt vampires who fought for the Confederacy in the Civil War. Only Confederate vampires? Yeah. Blood-sucking slave owners who turned their backs on America? They don't deserve to walk amongst the living. But not Union vampires. Oh God, no. They fought honorably for the right side of history. Union vampires? Thank you for your service. Anyways, I tracked the vampire Remick to Mississippi, only to find out that his demon heart had already been dispatched to hell. Look, I ain't a rat, but if Desmond Hawker asks me if I've seen any Confederate vampires running around, I'm gonna give him a straight answer. And, I agree with a lot of what he's doing, but when he starts saying things like, I've done more for the black vampire community than Blade, that's when I'm like, But look, not all Southern vampires are Confederates. Some of them are really into fashion and dandy culture, and you get to talking with them, and they're really nice, and you find out they have a lot in common with us New York vampires. But geez Louise, they got nothing on Pacific Northwest vampires. Oh boy, my buddy Jerry gets me out to this place called Forks, Washington to work on this really modern vampire house. They got a kitchen, they want the big hood with the sprinklers. I'm like, buddy, this isn't a professional kitchen and you ain't Emerald. And you're only ever using this kitchen when you got guests over. Anyways, I get to talking with the dad, Carlisle Cullen, a real Peter Facinelli type, if you know what I mean. And I'm like, hey, you got a big family here. And he's like, yeah, it's my boy Edward here, 108 years old, still chasing high school skirts. I'm like, buddy, that ain't something to be proud of. And he's like, this here's my daughter Rosalie, saved her from an abusive fiance. I'm like, okay, that's good. So I turned her into a vampire as a mate for Edward. Things didn't work out between the two of them, but now they just live as brother and sister. Okay, maybe not so good. My boy Emmett here is just a dummy who tried to fight a bear, had to turn him into a vampire to save his life. Okay, I knew I was in the woods here, but I didn't know I was in the backwoods. Let's just say the more he went on about his family, the more I doubted my commitment to Sparkle Motion, if you know what I mean. These here are my married twins, Jasper and Alice. Now, Alice came from an insane asylum, and Jasper here was a major in the Confederate Army. Say what now? My name is Desmond Hawker. I am a vampire hunter. I arrived in Forks and demanded that Carlisle Cullen tell me where his son Jasper was. He told me that there was all kinds of drama happening between Team Edward and Team Jacob, and now Sparkle Motion is fighting with the werewolves, and oh God, I am not here for this Mickey Mouse bullshit. Anyways, I finish up with the kitchen hood, and the dad's like, you might want to get out of here, the Volturi are on the way, and I'm like, whew, problems with the mafia? Been there, buddy. So yeah, sparkle motion vampires, my honest opinion is keep your daughters away, Chief. But you know who gets a real bad rap? California vampires. Everyone thinks they're into yoga and vegan blood, but a lot of them are just small businessmen of some sort like me. For example, my buddy Jerry got me this gig out in Santa Carla, California. Vampire-owned business, they need a sprinkler system. I get there, I meet the business owner, this guy Max, a real Edward Herman type if you know what I mean. I'm like, okay, where are we putting the blood tank? He's like, what the hell are you talking about? I don't need blood sprinklers. I run a video rental store on a boardwalk pier. I am literally sitting on top of a wooden tinder box. I need a real fire suppression system. I'm like, geez, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have made assumptions. The thing about Santa Carla is, a lot of people blame the vampires, but the real problem in that town is all the horny old ladies. Good Lord, the old widow Johnson? You'd think every guy in town was shipping out to war the next day. I had been blowing my sax all up and down the West Coast, playing the hottest jazz punk sax rock when I landed in Santa Carla. That's where I met the old widow Johnson. She taught me things. Look, lady, I know you're past menopause, but maybe let's put the men on pause a little bit. Anyways, I'm talking with Max, and it turns out he's dating this single mom that he recently hired, which feels a little inappropriate, you being her employer and all. But next thing I knew, a bunch of punk teenage vampires come rolling in, and I'm like, oh, geez, you want my help kicking these guys out? And Max is like, nah, it's cool, they're with me. I gotta be honest, between you and Carlisle Cullen turning a bunch of teenage boys into vampires, it's raising a few more eyebrows with me than I'd like. And Max is like, no, it's cool. David here is my son. These are his friends. That's his girlfriend. And that's some kid that hangs out with them who's not really her brother, but everyone thinks it is. And I'm like, is that kid wearing a Confederate uniform? My name is Desmond Hawk. I am a vampire hunter. Okay, turns out that kid was not a vampire and was actually born 110 years after the Confederacy. Look, the wooden stake only got in about this much before they stopped me. He's fine. He's fine. Kid shouldn't have been wearing a Confederate uniform in the first place. I blame the parents, but I'm pretty sure David and the other Lost Boys drank them. Yeah. Look, my big point is, there's weirdo vampires all over the place. Space, time, whatever. And you shouldn't judge somebody just based on where they live. Most times, they can't even control that. What matters is what's in a person's heart. And yes, vampire hearts are dark, soulless, and undead, but if you're a good person, then you're alright in my book. But if you got hate in your heart, then you might get a visit from Desmond Hawker. It's not just Confederate vampires. I've done 2 Confederate mummies, 1 Confederate werewolf, that guy was a real dickhead, 3 Confederate Frankensteins, and those are the worst, because then you got to figure out where all the parts came from. It's like, oh, this guy's 50% Confederate, but he's 50% freed slave. Ooh, what a pain in the ass. Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for watching the Ed Moltano triple feature. It was a crazy episode. Loved making it. Hope you all enjoyed it. Big shout out to our latest 2 Major Minor members. That's Kim Jones and Sato Mars. Also, for you Major Minor members, we'll have 2 deleted scenes from this episode. 1 deleted scene and actually 1 deleted minor character for the first time. Somebody who actually got cut out of the episode for a very good reason. Turns out Twilight is even worse than I thought. Yeah. We'll get into that. We've got a mini episode coming up about a minor character of his own. And then we'll see what goes from there. Stay tuned.